Hey, truth seekers, welcome back. Zach here. This past Thursday, December 15th, 2016, one of the top news stories was Dylann Storm Roof being found guilty of all 33 federal charges he was facing, stemming from the June 17th, 2015 Charleston Church shooting. What I'm going to show you in this video is why the guilty verdict came December 15th, 2016, a very specific date. Again, if you are new to my channel, down in the description, I will link these playlists on the Charleston Church shooting, the Walter Scott killing, and also the death of Freddie Gray in Baltimore. All of these stories are propaganda. They're all interrelated. They're all part of an agenda to divide the people of this nation amongst race. An active agenda, an agenda that's been with the people of this nation for decades. So anyhow, December 15th, 2016, very interesting date in numerology. I want to start right here with the 43 connection. In Gematria, Civil War equals 43, so does Charleston. In history, the Civil War began April 12th, 1861 in Charleston. So the date of the guilty verdict, a date with 43 numerology. We saw this number used again and again in the Freddie Gray officer trial, as I documented several times. Quick history lesson. The Civil War began in Charleston, April 12, 1861. The first casualty of the Civil War in the history books is April 19th, 1861 in Baltimore. This Charleston Church shooting, it followed the news of the Freddie Gray killing and also followed the news of the Walter Scott killing, an unarmed black man by a white police officer on April 4th, the 47-year anniversary of the death of Martin Luther King Jr. Anyhow, all of these stories were interrelated. Charleston and Baltimore are the cities involved in the beginning of the Civil War. Freddie Gray was arrested and injured April 12th and died April 19th. Again, the Civil War began April 12th. The first death was April 19th in Baltimore. And that first death came in Baltimore when gray coats ran into protesters and an armed confrontation broke out. Gray coats, Freddie Gray, Baltimore. Anyhow, the date of this guilty verdict, it has the Civil War connection. It also has 63 connection, which is interesting because the word racism equals 63. A major focus of this story is racism. Racism also has gematria of 36. It was a date with a life lesson number of 36. This story puts focus on race. It was a day with 18 numerology. The word race in gematria sums to 18 and 27. December 15th also connects to 27. Very fitting date for the guilty verdict for what the subject matter was. I also want to point out that the word massacre has gematria of 43. It was first described as a massacre in the church. Notice Dylann Storm Roof's birthday is April 3rd. April 3rd, 4/3, 1994. The word guilty equals 94, which we'll get to. His date of birth, it can be written 4/3 or 3/4. I want to point out that the word church equals 34, so does the word murder. We're talking about a murder in a church. The word church in simple English gematria also sums to 61. The Civil War began in 1861 in Charleston. We'll talk about the 16th Street church bombing as well. There was a major tribute in this shooting, this shooting to the 16th Street church bombing of the year 1963. Again, the date here is 63. We'll talk about that 16th Street church bombing in a little bit. This number 61, just so you know, the word God in Jewish gematria sums to 61. Kind of ties in with church. miracle. Unfortunately, in this world, the majority of people worship the news and let the news steer their belief systems. That's something that needs to stop, because the news is an information weapon that doesn't give anybody any information that has any relevance or benefit to their lives. All the news is here for is to steer people with fake information. The mainstream news is always the fake news. And if you hear the mainstream talking about fake news right now, be sure to tune that right out, because if they were telling you the truth, they'd be letting you know that all these years they've been manufacturing fake news by the numbers. Notice up here the headline was "Church Shooter Guilty." That's another tribute to the Civil War. Church shooter guilty equals 102. So does slavery. The Civil War began April 12th, the 102nd day of the year. Lincoln, who was born on the 43rd day of the year, was supposedly murdered by an actor in a theater on a date with 102 numerology. I'll point out that the word murderer also has gematria of 102. War, legitimized murder. Here are the dates of the Civil War: April 12th, 1861. Notice it lasted 4 years and 3 weeks. It also ended May 9th, 5/9. That date can be also written 9/5. Baltimore equals 95. Slave equals 59. Start date, the 102nd day of the year. Slavery ends on May 9th. 59, slave. So from the church shooting, June 17th, to the guilty verdict, 547 days. Remember that number 47. We'll be talking about that. 547 is the 101st prime number. And the word assassin equals 101. Lincoln, the day he was shot, was a date with 101 numerology. He died early the next morning on a date with 102 numerology. Assassin, 101. His date of birth, Dylann Storm Roof, April 3rd, 94, also a date with 101 numerology. Fitting. Again, born in 94, the word guilty, 94. We're going to talk about how the beating of Rodney King was a psychological operations by the numbers. I want you to notice that Rodney King died at age 47 on June 17th, 3 years before the date of this church shooting. And that is no coincidence. Again, the common link between these two incidents are purposefully contrived propaganda to divide the people amongst race. And as you will see, they were put on by the same numbers. Rodney King died at age 47, and that's a major number encoded into this more recent false flag, the Charleston Church shooting. The story was that Dylann Storm Roof went into this church and sat there for about an hour before pulling out a gun and killing 9 people, leaving 1 survivor. Notice in gematria that Bible study class equals 47. So does the word Christian, so does authority, so does framework, so does foundation. The Freemasons, who believe in order out of chaos and divide and conquer, the Freemasons, the people who founded the United States of America, who colonized the Western world, the Freemasons, the people who really run this nation, the real government, they have something called Euclid's 47th problem. 47, super important number to this gang, coded again and again into their propaganda. It's no coincidence that they say Dylann Storm Roof shot up Bible study class. Talk more about 47 in a moment. If you do the S exceptions on Bible study class, there are 3 S's. For each S, you can add 9 more. So 3 S's is 3 times 9, 27. 47 plus 27 is 74. This church was at 110 Calhoun Street, Calhoun 74. The shooter's name, Dylann Storm Roof, 74. They said he was a white supremacist, 74. In response to the shooting, the new Black Panther Party showed up and called for the killing of white people. You might recall those headlines from around the time of the shooting. Again, they're trying to stir up a race war. The Black Panther Party are controlled opposition by the Freemasons. Black Panther Party 74, just like white supremacists, Dylann Storm Roof, Calhoun. I should mention the name Morris Brown equals 74, who's the founder of this church. Clementa C. Pinckney, the title that the senator went by who supposedly died there, equals 74. This shooting came 74 days after the Walter Scott shooting, which was also in Charleston. 74 days after, and the Walter Scott shooting was on the 47-year anniversary of the death of Martin Luther King Jr. That was April 4th, 1968. Go figure. 74 days later, the same city, another race war, psychological operations. Again, Freemasonry controls your government, controls your police, controls your media. And this Freemason gang operates by a numerical code. They always have. That's why our nation's birthday is July 4th. Holiday equals 74, so does Independence Day. The story was that Dylann Storm Roof was spotted by a woman named Debbie Dills. Look this up if you don't believe me. Her name was Debbie Dills. She spotted him on Interstate 74. You get this? Debbie Dills 47 spots Dylann Storm Roof on Interstate 74. The story was that after they arrested Dylann Storm Roof, he said he was hungry, so they took him to Burger King. The mainstream media had a field day with this. They said, look at this. This man, this young white man, goes into a historic black church, shoots and kills 9 people, and the police take him to Burger King. And meanwhile, they were comparing and contrasting that with Freddie Gray, who had just been arrested and supposedly, essentially killed by being mishandled in the back of a police vehicle. And also keep in mind, the mainstream media is creating these stories and these narratives to divide people, to anger them, to work them up. They said they took Dylann Storm Roof to Burger King. Burger King equals 58, like Freemasonry, like secret society. You want to know something interesting? McDonald's equals 85. 85, the reflection of 58. Anyhow, the date of the church shooting was a date with 58 numerology, June 17th, 2015. This is a number they use again and again in their major false flags as well. This other date up here, December 14th, 2012, that's the date of the Sandy Hook shooting false flag. Sandy Hook in gematria equals 58. So real quick, I want to point out about 47 and 74 in regards to the courtroom. The word judge equals 47, gavel 47, obey 47, authority 47. The word jury equals the reflection, 74. Like Masonic, like Jewish, occult. Special number to this game. As I've pointed out since my very first video, the first video I did, I talked about how the mainstream media codes fake news with the numbers 33, 47, 74, time and time again. And since making that video, I have over 1,000 examples documenting just that. Here's another one. We're looking at it right now. Dylann Storm Roof got the 33 count federal indictment. Dylann Roof found guilty on all 33 counts in federal death penalty trial. So if you watched any of this, you heard that Dylann Storm Roof was inspired to kill because of the Trayvon Martin story. Trayvon Martin. Look at this. Rodney King was beaten in history on March 3rd by the LAPD. LAPD equals 33, so does police. On the anniversary of his beating is the date Trayvon Martin was buried. Trayvon Martin's initials are TM, like trademark. T's the 20th letter, M's the 13th. Put it together, 33. His killer was George Zimmerman, GZ. 7 plus 26, the 7th letter, the 26th, 33. I didn't mean to write Georgie. George Zimmerman. Anyway, this number 33, it's the number of the race war used again and again. KKK 33, LAPD 33, race war 33, federal 33. Dylann Storm Roof facing 33 federal charges. Order 33, Police 33, Masonry 33, Secrecy 33. Look at this right here. This is from Newsweek. Newsweek wrote this on June 19th, 2015. And I have a video responding to this article. It is the most harsh rant I've ever given out of the nearly 2,000 videos I've made. If you want to go back and see my response to this article the day of, you can hear exactly how I was feeling. But anyhow, Dylann Roof confesses, says he wanted to start race war. And notice how the media emphasizes race war. Again, race war is 33. The date that Newsweek reported this, June 19th, 2015, was a date with a life lesson number of 33. Newsweek in gematria sums to 33, and if you look it up, Newsweek was established in the year 33. A lot of major news publications in this nation were established on dates with 33 numerology, including the New York Times and so many more of the major papers you know. Remember this shot right here? Dylann Storm Roof? For all of these PSYOPs, these pictures that are given to us, they're carefully created. Things put in the background, what the people are wearing. Notice he's wearing a shirt that says Cleveland and Orlando with an 88 on it. Cleveland happens to be one of the only cities in the nation that sums to 33. And think about this. Cleveland is where Donald Trump had his GOP convention. And Donald Trump, speaking of race war, the headlines the past week are how his cabinet is the whitest thing since the 1980s. Nobody's had as white of a cabinet since. What we are living out in this nation is a planned agenda, and we're being mocked all along the way. I warned people in 2008 that something like this would be coming, because I saw what they were doing with Barack Obama. They were getting the American people to consent to doing things based on race. Everyone who voted for Obama voted for him for one reason, and that's because he was a black man. Nobody voted for Obama for any other reasons. If you looked at his voting record, it was atrocious. You couldn't tell him apart from George W. Bush. And so many people were truly hoodwinked, thinking that Obama was going to be something different. I was telling everyone in 2008, just look at his voting record. He's establishment. He's part of the mainstream agenda. He's a warmonger. He's a banker tyrant. He's everything you don't want. People didn't listen to me. They thought I was crazy. Well, as I knew then, I was correct, and it becomes more clear by the day because people voted based on doing things by race. In the time of Obama, we've gotten all of this racially divisive propaganda that's accelerated to an unprecedented pace. And now at the end of Obama's administration, look at what they're doing to us. They're giving us this candidate that reminds us of something from, World War II time. Donald Trump, on the campaign trail, made his most divisive rhetoric in Orlando. He called for legitimized torture there for the first time. He called for stop and frisk. The number 88 represents Donald Trump. Everything about Donald Trump is 88. The word Trump is 88. The Republican Party is 88. That's why he was wearing this shirt. This is all a tribute to what's coming in time. Notice this guilty verdict comes at the time of Donald Trump transitioning into the presidency. So real quick, to get back on point about the race war by the numbers, the name Rodney King equals 59, so does the word slave, so does blues, so does Negro. The Civil War ended on May 9th, 1865. The date the Civil War ended was also a date with 97 numerology. Civil War, the small way 43, the big way 97. Again, all throughout history, the entire time the Freemasons have been governing over this nation, and they've done everything by the numbers, from making war to making up propaganda daily in the headlines. This is how it's been the entire time. the way we joined the world wars by the numbers, every single war that you know about in your history book is by the numbers, meaning they've all been needless and orchestrated for agenda. There's that 59 coding in the Civil War over on May 9th. When you write out the numbers 5 and 9, they both sum to 42. All throughout history, the numbers 59 and 42 have been stamped on black Americans. That's why there's so much black history from the bus. Bus equals 42, like boy, the derogatory term used against black people, like the gematria of the most hateful word for black people, which sums to 42. This is the exact reason Jackie Robinson wore 42. The slang term, brothers 42, February, the only month that sums to 42. February ends on the 59th day of the year, February 28th. Want to point this out as well. Dylann Storm Roof, they've been referring to him as Dylann Roof lately. Dylann Roof equals 52, like government, like hate crime act, which he faced and was found guilty of violating. Charleston, with the S exception, also sums to 52. And I should point out that Charleston has simple English gematria of 115. Killing in Jewish gematria is 115. Again, the same city where the Civil War began. In case you missed the last video I did on Dylann Roof, I talked about how it was announced his trial was about to start on a date with 52 numerology. And in that article, they emphasized how he was facing the Hate Crime Act. Again, his entire story has been orchestrated by the numbers. And if you learn about gematria and apply these skills, you'll see that every day your news headlines are contrived by the numbers. They recently gave us this story of the survivor, Polly Shepherd. Think about that name in light of Bible study class. How much shepherd and sheep symbolism is there in the Bible? CNN, the day they gave us this story, for the better part of the day, kept up a 43-minute ticker, and not by coincidence. Again, that's the number for Civil War in Charleston, as well as massacre. Lincoln, the Civil War president, born on the 43rd day of the year. I should point out the word book equals 43. Bible study class book. Also, if you've ever been to jail, you know what's wrong with this photo right here. This is another photo they've used all year. This is Dylann Storm Roof in a holding cell. When you first go to jail, they put you in a holding cell. A holding cell is a very small rectangular room. Nobody goes in there with you. They put you in there, and then later they come and take you to the cell that you're supposed to be in. When you're in a holding room, nobody goes in there with you. There would never be two people in the holding room with you. And just look at this shot. A black man over one shoulder, a white woman who's looking very dudeish over the other shoulder. It's all part of the race war. It's all part of the symbolism. And for anyone with a brain, they know it's a farce. You know, right after the shooting, they reported in the mainstream how it didn't stop the church from having a service there the following Sunday. The shooting was on a Wednesday. Supposedly 9 people were killed in there. A lot of bullets were fired. And they're telling you that they had the church service there that following Sunday. Should be a sign that nothing happened. So let's go back in time to the 16th Street Baptist Church bombing. After the church shooting in Charleston, they said that this was the worst massacre at a black church since this incident from September 15th, 1963. 16th Street Baptist Church bombing. Notice that this church in Birmingham, Alabama was on the 33rd parallel. When you write out 16, it sums to 33, just like false flag, like masonry, like secrecy. Again, Dylann Storm Roof just had a 33 federal charges he was facing. The date that this happened in history, September 15th, 1963, it was a date with 106 numerology. The night of the Charleston Church shooting, they had this fire truck parked out in front of the church. It was in the backdrop of CNN's coverage all night. It was fire truck number 106. And on the back of the fire truck, which they were also showing, was the Tea Party flag flying. You know, ask yourself, what's a Tea Party flag doing on a government vehicle? Tea Party in Gematria sums to 106. 106 is a number of prophecy. The Freemasons, the Zionist Jews, the Jesuits who run this nation, they see themselves as fulfilling prophecy, creating propaganda, steering the people down the path of agenda. To them, this is all prophecy. So that is why they code this number, and they've coded it again and again all throughout history. The word destroy also has gematria of 106, and this story is very much about destruction of human life needlessly out of racism. I want to point out that Birmingham also has gematria of 58, like Freemasonry, the Charleston Church shooting on a date with 58 numerology. So that's pretty much the extent of it, Truth Seeker. Down in the description, I'm going to link these playlists, the Charleston Church shooting playlist, also talk about Walter Scott's death, as well as the Freddie Gray murder hoax. All of these stories are interconnected, all part of the ongoing web of propaganda that's really here to divide us, to instill fear, hate, all things that hold us down as a people. And let me show you this as well. This is important. I want to show you something about the name Walter Scott in regards to South Carolina. Walter Scott in gematria sums to 156. This is the man who was shot in the back by the police officer Michael Slagert, who was said to be 33 years old. Walter Scott equals 156. South Carolina equals 156. Charleston, South Carolina, where these shootings happened. When you write out 33 as a word, it sums to 156. Walter Scott was shot by the 33-year-old police officer named Michael 33. False flag also has gematria of 156 in the Jewish format. And remember, false flag also sums to 33 in Pythagorean. All of these stories, they're all the same. The characters are coded with the same numbers, always coming back to 33. In all the stories, they stamp a 47, a 74. It's why the Walter Scott shooting happened on the 47-year anniversary of the killing of Martin Luther King Jr. It's why the church shooting happened 74 days later. Same pattern all throughout history, Truth Seeker. That's why in my first video, I taught people how to do gematria and to look for the numbers 33, 47, 74. Since that video, more than 1,000 examples in the news using these exact same patterns. You know? The mocking is also surface level too. They've been using this shot all year. I don't know what it is with this character. I don't know if he's an actor playing the part or if he is someone who is truly, handicapped with a mental deficiency. It wouldn't surprise me in the least if the powers that be, handpick patsies that they know cannot defend themselves, that they can essentially bully into participating in these agendas. Something very off about this Dylann Storm Roof character. But rest assured, he didn't shoot anybody. If he really is going to be in a prison, he's probably getting put there because they know he's powerless to do anything against it. And just to use him for this symbol, for this PSYOP. These people who do this to us, they have no shame, they have no respect for human life, no decency. They need to be exposed. The fake news needs to be exposed. The mainstream media needs to be put to rest because all it does every day is, push this kind of stuff. Noise, static, lies, disinfo. Enough is enough. Until next time, truth seeker.